Yes, sir. What is good, Slap City? We are back, and in this video, we're going to break down the Kanekoa versus Darren Godfrey middleweight fight from Power Slap 14. So for those who don't know, Kanekoa is also known as the Chief, so I'll be referring to him as the Chief in this video. But Instagram voted for this one, and I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. I want to say that like 70% of 40 votes voted for this fight, so one of the more unanimous votes we've ever had. But anyway, so these two first met at Power Slap 9, I believe. I want to say it was Power Slap 9. And it was one of the most controversial fights in Power Slap history. Godfrey ended up getting the KO there. It was a vicious KO, but had gotten away with a bad flinch. So definitely was a tough break for the Chief. And this fight didn't look that much different. It kind of looked exactly the same. The theme of this fight, though, was it was basically the exact same as the first time around, except just a little bit less. Like, the first flinch that Godfrey had at Power Slap 9 was massive. This one, not as much, but it doesn't take as much to affect a strike. So, just because it's less than it was before doesn't necessarily mean that it's not a flinch. And so, we're going to go over all of that. But overall, I mean, every time these two face each other, it is must-see TV. It ends in a vicious highlight reel knockout, and this one was no different. I mean, say what you want about Godfrey and the flinching, and you'd be right, but you can't take away from this guy's power. You just can't. I honestly think he might be the most powerful at middleweight, pound for pound. Like, he might have the best strike in middleweight. Doesn't mean that he's the best fighter at middleweight, but pound for pound, raw power, and the mechanics of the strike, I don't know if anybody's is touching him right now. Now, for the Chief, he surprised me a little bit in a few ways. The movement from Godfrey I've spoke on in the past, it's very predictable. You could watch his 2 matches on Road to the Title and his 2 matches that he's had in Power Slap in less than a half hour and see that he does the exact same thing every time. The movement from Godfrey won't affect where you land on his face, but it will affect how much of your hand lands. It didn't appear that the Chief was changing the trajectory of where he was throwing his strike to account for the movement. And so, yeah, I was confused by that. It seemed to me like he put way too much trust in the fact that Godfrey wasn't going to move this time. He also didn't appear to complain in the moment, so maybe he thought that he got him with everything. I didn't see it personally, but didn't appear to complain like he did in the first one. So if you want, stick around at the end of the breakdown. There are a couple things that I want to address that I've heard of recently regarding the coin toss and a few others. So stick around if you're interested for that. But anyway, it was an exciting fight. It always is when these two meet, and there's always some sort of controversy. So this one was no different. But with that said, let's get into it. So the Chief won the toss, so he's striking first. The Chief goes right on one.
Wow, going on one right here. This is going to be an intense match. Both of these.
Look at that stare.
Very athletic, very strong, come from a fighting background and have a lot of bad blood going into this rematch. Wow, good slap. Got all of that one.
Okay, not the best shot from the Chief. Alan Joe Bam was like, he got all of that one. I was like, the fuck were you looking at? An absolute specimen, but not the best commentator for Power Slap, in my opinion. I was surprised that there was no mention of the movement from the commentary team. Now, watch Godfrey's right leg here. His right leg, he does like a little bit of a side bend, which kind of forces him to fade away, and it keeps his chin level. So if you look at his head position as the strike progresses, his chin stays flat. Like, he's not turning his head, and so it just makes it even harder for Beltran to make that call in the moment. This really has to come from the replay. I'm not sure exactly how this got past replay, but it did. Let's take a look at the overhead. Got the white line. Has never lied and never will. Boom, stop it here. Okay, so this is the point of contact, and Godfrey's head is off the center line. So, in my opinion, this is a flinch. I think they missed one here. Definitely not as bad as the first one, but still a flinch in my opinion. Now, the smartest part of this whole thing, and in my opinion, it is calculated defense by Godfrey here, is that he has the patented 1-2 stumble. So, he'll let the strike take him, like he'll go with the strike almost and then do like a 1-2 stumble back. And it's just brilliant because the optics of it makes it seem like you got rocked. And I've said in the past, with flinching, if it doesn't affect the power of the strike, a lot of times they'll let it go. And so when you stumble back like that, it looks like it was a powerful strike. And so they're even more likely to let it go. And this is consistent in all of his matches. It's really the smartest part about the whole thing. Oscar-winning performance by Godfrey there. The guy definitely has a career in movies after this. And he's just that good at it. Like, it's a legitimate skill. He takes defense to a whole new level with that. Now, I don't think it was the best strike from the Chief either. And if there was ever a time for Godfrey to stay still, I think it would have been this one. In my opinion, I don't think that he would have gotten hit with the Chief's best shot. But does his thing and gets it past Beltran and the replay booth. And we move on to the bottom half of round 1. Godfrey also goes right on 1.
Oh, and I assume he's just used to it. He's also a Hawaiian guy, so I'm sure he doesn't like wearing shoes very often. He feels grounded. He gets his power. Flinching.
Okay, not a great shot from Godfrey. Movement from the Chief for sure. You'll see they instantly call a flinch. And this was something that was confusing because unless they've changed the rule, which I don't think they have, the first flinch is supposed to be a warning, and then the striker gets to strike again. The second flinch, the ref has the option to take a point, and then the striker can still strike again. Beltran is the newest ref, but still, man, like, what the hell is that? Take a look at the overhead. Okay, so this is actually before the point of contact. So yeah, he was early on the turn there. I do think this is the right call, but I understand where Chief is coming from if he was pissed. And when you turn your head, it's even more noticeable than like when you fade like Godfrey does. So yeah, the right call. You'll see Godfrey right back there again, not giving the Chief any time.
Right on 1? Okay.
To lose a point and give your opponent another opportunity to possibly knock you out. And remember, he's already knocked him out. Oh! The hand of Godfrey rises again!
Out cold, man. Out cold. What a strike from Godfrey. You could tell he was pissed about all the controversy from the first one. He even did his own celebration on it, man. That was cold. Yeah, you can see the emotion from Godfrey. I'd have to imagine that that gets pretty fucking annoying. Let's take a closer look. Green lines for the target area. If you pause it here without the green lines, it looks like he just missed him a little bit above the button. Like at this point, you can see a little bit of the Chief's chin underneath the green line where the hand is really connecting with. But the green line was at the bottom of the Chief's chin, which is where the sweet spot would be. And when it makes contact, he's a little bit below it. It's not a flinch, but it's just enough movement to actually keep him from hitting directly on the button. But, I mean, we've seen this guy's power. He doesn't even have to hit you directly on the button to put you out. And that's what happened here. I mean, absolutely vicious. Boom. We saw a few headbangers at Power Slap 14. There were so many fucking knockouts at Power Slap 14, man. Alright, so in their first match, Godfrey got away with a bit of a step. So let's take a look at the overhead of his feet. I have a white line pointing directly straight from where his foot is pointing. And so if we pause it at the point of contact, boom, stop it here. Okay, another white line through his foot. So some slight pivot before contact. By the letter of the law, you could call this a step. The problem is they let even more foot movement go on this card than this. Like they were letting people get away with more than this. So if you're not going to call them, then how can you call this? It's just like they're really trying to get rid of stepping, so they're extremely lenient with it. This is a sneaky trick that veterans are able to get away with. You see a lot of people do this where they point their foot to the outside slightly so that if they do have some pre-slap pivot, their foot ends completely straight so it doesn't look like they did unless you really pay attention to which angle their right foot is at. As the defender, you just kind of have to come to terms with the fact that you're not going to get this call. Boom. Boom. Look at the follow through on Godfrey. So he follows through, and then the momentum of his follow through brings him back to where he started, like fluently. So strikers and power slab should be paying attention to what this guy's doing on offense. So yeah, another absolute highlight reel knockout for Darren Godfrey. And so moving forward, I think that if I was Godfrey, I wouldn't take another fight. I would just wait for the title shot. If Bordeaux can't go by October, like the beginning of October, I think it's 15, then don't be surprised if they do an interim title fight in Abu Dhabi. They need title fights, man. They have 2 events in 1 month and not that many champions. So, yeah, don't be surprised if they do that. If Bordeaux is ready, I bet you see the trilogy on 15 in Vegas. And then in that case, Godfrey should just wait for the winner. And then for the Chief, if you heard my recap, I had said that I thought it would be interesting if he could mix it up at 170. Doesn't sound like he wants to do that, so I think he's going to stay at middleweight, which is fine. He's definitely still a top middleweight. I mean, his 2 actual losses are against the same guy who's, number 3? So definitely still at the top of the division. But we'll need a couple to get enough momentum to get that title shot. It's actually good timing. By the time he would even be able to get a shot, he'll have enough time to get 2 more wins. So, yeah, definitely don't write this guy off. I honestly still think he can take shots. Just because he might not be able to take Godfrey's best shot doesn't mean he can't take other people's shots. So, yeah, definitely don't write this guy off. I bet you'll see him on 15, especially with this controversy. I bet you they'll do him a solid and put him on that card. Overall, exciting fight, not without its fair share of what-ifs, but can't ask for much more from the knockout. So, and then, okay, I had mentioned that there were a few things that I wanted to speak on. The first one is that the Chief said on Slap News that he's actually appealing this loss with the Athletic Commission. This is rather rare, from what I understand. There don't appear to be a ton of appeals, or at least not that you hear of, and become public knowledge. So I'll be interested to see how this one goes. I'm not sure if he's going to get it, just because it made it past replay. So when you're talking about appeals, there's only a certain amount of people that are even trained in Power Slap to be able to know what they're looking at and effectively analyze the situation and the decision. And those select few people were very likely in this arena and very likely were either reffing when it happened or on the monitors. So it's basically just them double checking themselves, and then will they admit if they were wrong? And they just don't seem like they're people that would do that. And then on top of that, there's a dangerous precedent that gets set if you were to overturn something like that. It's just like anybody that thinks they were wronged, which would be basically everybody, would just start appealing the losses. And so, yeah, I'm not sure how that one's going to go. I'm not saying he's not going to get it. Definitely not saying that. I just don't know. But yeah, I thought that was interesting and worth noting. And then lastly, we have the coin tosses. So Slap News put up a post of a video where Mark Smith was apparently flipping the coin for the Darius versus Stonier match. And I've seen a bunch of different comments on this. I've seen some where it was like they did this today, in which case some people don't believe that this was actually then and it was maybe done after the fact. Look, I'm not saying that the coin tosses are fake. I'm not saying that. But I will say that I didn't really love how they handled this. I mean, historically, Power Slap doesn't address anything, like any controversy. They'll just stay silent, typically. So I was honestly a bit surprised that they even acknowledged this. I mean, it's good because enough people have talked about it to where, like, it's good that they're addressing it and listening. But I didn't really love how they did it. I don't think it was presented very well, and it just didn't give the best vibes. To me, if you're going to address it, you should release more than one, because it can honestly make it look worse if you don't. Yeah, I don't know how much good that did. But I did see a comment that I wanted to address about betting and like legality of betting if they're not actually doing the coin tosses, which they didn't believe that they are. So you don't bet on Power Slap until after the coin tosses. So like if Wolverine is fighting Turp Daddy Slim, for example, you can't bet until after the coin toss. It's not like you're betting on them first. So you get a chance to know who won the coin toss before you bet. So it's like, I mean, that's quite literally why the lines go out after the coin toss. Like, these guys aren't stupid. So that just isn't accurate. Anyway, hope y'all enjoyed this. Till next time, like, comment, subscribe. Peace.